Merry Funkmas.
No.
It is the Christmas episode.
Vetoed.
This year I thought it was going to be boners.
Yeah, I'm Leon, and Austin and Johnny are here. It was either going to be Merry Funkmas, or I was going to do the Halloween intro, but just replace it with Christmas, and that would be the.
I would have got behind that.
Okay, but yeah, this is the Christmas episode in the sense that it's like a little under a week away, but by the time this is like uploaded, it'll be only a few days away, and by the time we record next, it will be over. So there are a couple Christmassy things to talk about. The biggest one, we sort of teased it last week. Neo Yokio Pink Christmas.
Oh, we're just in it then, huh? We're just going right for
yeah.
it.
Let's dunk.
Yeah. I just want to say a few things.
When I say dunk,
I
want to make sure that I'm not saying like let's dunk on it. I'm talking more like, got your cup of buttered rum, or maybe your like spiced mulled wine or something like that. A Neo Yokio is like a tasty little biscuit that you can just like, you can dip in, nibble, and be like, yeah, all right.
I really enjoyed it. I liked that the actions and inactions of the rich created a monster out of the poor that rightly wanted revenge. I liked that Archangelo's phony message is a good parallel for real-world neoliberalism that enforces the system while paying lip service to economic disparity, but never actually addressing it. But most of all, I liked when one of the characters said, "Cool your dick," which is just something I want to insert into my everyday language.
Did you notice that someone also called someone else slime? As if specifically gesturing towards us in our painful, excruciating whiteness.
It's very obvious that Jaden Smith is a regular listener of this podcast, so
shout out.
What's up, slime?
Yeah, when a Cass's friend said slime out loud, and I understand how that makes sense, and it was very good.
Do we want to back up and set the scene a little bit? Because I think longtime listeners know we love Neo Yokio, the anime-esque Jaden Smith show, also brought to you by the Vampire Weekend guy, for some reason, because, the world is weird. But specifically, this Christmas special has like a framing narrative. It's not like a direct canonical continuation of the story, which actually did go some places in season 1. The story is like, here comes Jaden Smith, self-insert OC. He's the like most eligible bachelor. Everyone loves him. He's rich. He's powerful. He's magical. Second most eligible to the villain. Bachelor. Yeah, and the whole like at the beginning, he's like an insufferable bastard, and he kind of learns what a shitty system he's involved in, and at the kind of the first season ends with him yelling like "communism forever" or something. It's pretty good. And then this one is just kind of a what if. Like I don't.
All right, so this is not an underdone Christmas trope, right? Arguably, the second most famous Christmas story of all time. I'm of course. The first one, I'm pretty sure we all know.
Christmas Carol. Yeah. I thought that's where it's going when it started with him like, "Tell me a story, Robot Butler." Yeah. I was like, "Oh my god, are they really gonna do Christmas Carol here?"
But
and I was kind of.
But not even that, right? Like every like Austin, you obviously you grew up in the era where television was not necessarily as ubiquitous as it used to be back in the 1980s. But like every television sitcom for as far back as I can remember has ripped off It's a Wonderful Life, has ripped off this whole like what if thing. Like it's not new.
Yeah, but it doesn't hew very closely. Yes, most shows have a It's a Wonderful Life episode, but it doesn't even really flirt with that so much as just like what it seemed to me, and I have no proof to back this up, was hey, if we don't get renewed for more seasons, here's kind of a speed run of some of the plot points we would have hit.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye. Like it kind of, because it didn't really happen. It was just a story in the show.
Well, here's the thing about that. The ending had Kaz and not even the Robot Butler, but the Robot Butler's pilot.
Yeah.
Sort of had this sort of like ambiguous talk at the end about like whether or not the audience is supposed to count this as canon, or where it fits, or if it fits at all, or if it is a portent, perhaps, of things to come in season 2. And I like that. I like that it's just we don't necessarily have to fit it in. This isn't Star Trek. We don't have to have this really hard canon. It's fine. But I really loved it. I thought it was great. It was very funny. And I appreciate the things it was trying to say. It is a show that I wasn't when I started watching it, I wasn't look, I'm not saying this is a super deep show, but I am saying that it is not as shallow as I expected it to be based on what people were saying about it.
It's shallow that the shallowness becomes the point, and then they play with it. Like when it started, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're doing." Oh, it's a joke. Okay, like I was like legit, like I can't believe they're doing this, and then it was like, "Oh, it's so over the top." It's in fact my favorite part of the Christmas special is that ending conversation you're talking about, where it has this really dark kind of finish to the in-universe story, and the protagonist says like, why do you have to be so dark? Why does everything have to be so ambiguous with the themes? Why can't you just say what you're trying to say? Which is like a very audience reaction. And the robot says like, I guess I'll just throw in more Toblerone jokes. It's a very metatextual kind of like people who only went to the first season for the meme and not for the actual critique of capitalism. So they know it's good.
Yeah. Tons of, if you're just in it for the jokes, you are in luck. There are tons of great lines. My favorite, besides Cool Your Dick, was, "You're upsetting the Christmas goose." Which was just, there's just the lines in the show, don't make sense for a person to say in real life. So there's this kind of, uncanny quality to the way they speak in the show that I appreciate. It's actually very, very good. It starts, but we should talk about like what actually is the story, because people are listening to this like, why don't you tell me? So
that's what they sound like.
Yeah, it is. So I should probably explain. Kaz is a little sick, and his robot butler, played by Jude Law, what? Decides to tell him a story, and the butler starts, and then Kaz is like, maybe you could make it about a character who is just me, but it's not. Yeah,
he doesn't really say it explicitly. You know,
well, it's sort of like a really great gag.
Maybe it could be
explaining all the jokes.
Maybe it could be about a really handsome rich guy who's just, like, trying to do his best in the world. And the robot butler's like, okay.
Yeah. And basically he tells us a story about what begins anyway is just a secret Santa contest among billionaires, basically, where they have to give each other secret Santa gifts, but it is televised. And so, like, basically everything is commodified. Like, even generosity must be commodified in Neo Yokio. So there is a special on television about them giving each other gifts. And then Kaz's arch nemesis, whose name is Archangelo. I always forget what his name is. I hope I got that right.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's correct.
Okay, good. Oh, good. Archangelo says he's basically plotting something. He says material things are terrible. Everyone should instead focus on things that are intangible. And everyone's like, "Wow, that's a really deep message."
Yeah, his gift is not giving a gift.
Yeah, what Archangelo is really trying to do is set up people to attend a show he's doing, which is not a material thing, but definitely something you have to buy. So it's like a loophole, and it's bullshit. And Kaz is thrown off. And
after all this time, because Kaz hires a shopper because his secret Santa he has to buy for his arch nemesis. So he goes to this guy who works at Neo Yokio's most predominant consumer fixture. The Macy's of Neo Yokio. And
even more upscale than that. And of course, the people who work there
Nordstrom's.
are bought into the thing.
Yeah, and hires the most rambunctious man in the store, played by Richard Ayoade, who fans of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place will know as Dean Lanner, to find this gift. And he finds this, like, ancestral, meaningful, historically significant gift for Kaz to give to Arcangelo. And then Arcangelo shows him up on TV and is like, material things are for the puny! Ha ha ha! Experiences and living life is the best thing you can do! So pay $49.99 to come see my charity show.
Yeah, it's a very, very good show. If you haven't seen, the weird thing is, you could watch the Christmas special without watching the first season because there's very little references, but you still should.
It's pretty self-contained for the most part. You know?
Yeah, that's the odd thing about it. But it's great, and I recommend people watch it. I mentioned it on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, and Pink Christmas comes out today, so I know what I'm doing. And a few people tweeted me like, seriously? And the thing is, the show is so obviously good, and yet it is not widely seen that way. So it's like, okay, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm cool being ahead of the curve on this one.
History will vindicate you.
Right, it's fine. So
it's been such an incredible year for TV. I know everyone keeps saying like the golden age of television and all that, but specifically streaming shows. And at the risk of once again being like Netflix's unpaid PR boy, like Neo Yokio and Devilman Crybaby are like the most interesting anime I've seen in like probably literally decades. Like
let us not forget how BoJack Horseman has managed to remain so painstakingly good into its 5th season.
And She-Ra, which, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about the final season of Voltron today. I didn't get through it.
Me neither.
In that case, we'll wait because I don't want to tell you everything that happens. But yeah, we can do that next week.
Yeah,
but yes, I've seen it.
I'm still going to finish it, but I felt my enthusiasm waning. It's like, this was a good show, but now it has to be compared to She-Ra, and it's like I'm living in another like era now. I've moved beyond Voltron. You can't just give me a character who's gay for one episode in a flashback. I'm already in Nirvana, and now you're still back on Earth, and I appreciated our time together, but I have ascended. So
okay, that's fair. There's I don't want to get into spoilers.
Okay, the first episode is extraordinarily heterosexual.
Can we not though, please? Because like Voltron is actually something I do want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the last season. I'm not gonna talk about it any more than that though, so we can move on from that. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay, next week.
And that's part of it is that I recognize that I can like sit down later tonight and watch the whole thing. Whereas, like, if somebody's going to give me spoilers about Venom, I know I'm not going to see Venom for a couple of months, so whatever.
Speaking of superhero movies, I was thinking about going and seeing that Spider-Man that literally every human being on Earth is raving about. I'm just walking down the street trying to
blasting off.
People are grabbing me and shaking me and saying, "Have you seen the Spider-Man yet?" It's a sensation, and I have not, so I assume Leon has.
I have.
Yeah, and you hate it.
Yeah.
I thought you weren't going to because the animation made you nauseous.
Yeah, basically. But when a lot of people I respect and basically said it's great, everything you will overcome the fact that your eyes don't like it. And I was like, you know what? It's fine because I have a subscription at my local theater. I'm not paying extra to go see Spider-Man. Right. So it's like, fine, I'll just go. The only thing I'll lose is 2 hours of my time if I don't like it.
Were they right, though?
Nope. Not even a little bit. My eyes could barely focus throughout the entire film. I didn't. Every flicker, just
every skipped frame
bothered me to no end. Yeah. I couldn't deal with that in the slightest. My eyes don't adjust to it or something, or my brain hates it, or my stomach hates it. Basically, my whole body rejected this movie like at like the wrong organ that you put in the body.
See,
and it was like, no.
What I'm thinking is I'm going to wait till it comes to streaming services on my TV, and then I'm going to turn motion smoothing on. And then it might actually look like it's really animated.
Jesus.
I mean, we're going to piss a lot of people off because I've heard from animators and stuff that's like, oh, this is, the most extraordinary piece of work and it's a really good technique and everything. And, we can't change how you bodily felt, Leon, but I think a lot of people do appreciate it. So I'm interested in getting in there and seeing if I feel the same. It is a correction to our previous conversation because when the trailer came out and we talked about this, I was comparing it to things like Knights of Sidonia or The Dragon Prince, which have...
they use similar technical workarounds, don't they?
Well, no, this is a deliberate choice. So I was wrong when I said, this is like a cost-saving thing where they skip frames or whatever. No, like apparently this is a deliberate style choice. Our commenters let us know that.
I thought that's what our conversation resulted in, was that a lot of people thought that when doing a 3D animated movie that was cel-shaded, that if they skipped frames and things like that, that it made it look more like traditional animation.
It's something like that. I'm not well versed enough. I give a lot of opinions on this show, but I like to occasionally notice when I'm out of my depth and point it out. I am not an animator or an artist, a visual artist of any kind, so I'm talking out of my ass here. So,
okay.
Butts.
I haven't seen any of the things that you're talking about, Knights of Sidonia, Dragon Prince, or Into the Spider-Verse yet. But yeah, everybody I know is launching off this movie. Leon, I'm kind of curious. Like, where does Spider-Man rank on your superhero scale? Are you a big Spider-Man fan, or
not really? Not really. He's a guy.
All right.
I don't know how to say this, but I don't feel strongly about a lot of fictional characters unless they're She-Ra. You basically, like, if you're, let me rephrase that. I like fictional characters in like a show, but like an intellectual property character where they're just like in a lot of different things. Like I don't feel strongly like about Spider-Man. I feel strongly about Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi movie. Not that strongly, but I have feelings about it. I don't feel strongly about Spider-Man, the thing that has been interpreted and reinterpreted by hundreds upon hundreds of people.
Spider-Man 2.
Intellectual property.
Are the feelings that you have about Spider-Man 2 good feelings?
I guess. I like I said, I don't have strong feelings. Yeah, but I can like look at a movie and say that is the movie that I think was pretty good.
Okay, all right.
Whereas I don't stand for a superhero is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
When I was younger, I think I may have felt differently, but I don't anymore.
I mean, it's all basically fan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so the two things I wanted to talk about this week were going to be Voltron and Pink Christmas. We did the one, we can't do the other, so I'm tapped out. I'm sorry.
He's not sorry.
I did see another movie just a few hours ago. I don't know if I can really launch into much about it, but I will mention it. I saw Anna and the Apocalypse, which is a horror comedy Christmas musical. It's fine. I didn't laugh at the comedy because it was there weren't like great lines or things that are memorable. It's more like the kind of humor that you will get in a sitcom, but not a great one. Just like, oh, I see why that was supposed to be funny kind of jokes. Nothing. The funniest line in the movie, the only one that stands out, was Anna meets up with like her ex-boyfriend who's kind of a jerk, and he does something like immature, and she says, "You're such a child," and he says, "Yeah, but like a sexy child, right?" and then he catches himself because that was a gross thing to say and makes a face. And that was the funniest part of the movie. The rest of it is just like it's just kind of like slapstick and bad lines. The songs, I kind of like bopped my head along to some of them. It's very pop. I don't think there's one standout one where people are like, oh, this is the one, like Let It Go from Frozen or something. It was I guess is what I'm trying to say. It unfortunately suffers from something that looks like it was made for BBC television. It has that. I mentioned this on Twitter. It is difficult for me to describe, but impossible for me not to notice it. It has that sort of chintzy.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like
it's kind of hard
it's
to
like the uninspired, usage of locations, but then processing to make it kind of look like, yeah, I'll bet you thought this cost a lot more money, actually.
Not, you know what? Not even that. I did not think this even remotely might have cost a little bit more money. It's not. It looks like it takes place in a high school. I don't know. I can't.
Is this a theatrical release?
Yeah. No, it's a theatrical
Sorry,
release.
I haven't heard.
No, it's okay. What I'm trying to. But the thing is, like, I imagine this is the kind of thing I would watch on what they would call Channel 4, and that would be it. Don't
slag Channel, all right?
Sorry, I've tried to watch so much on BBC, and every time I try, it just doesn't work, and that's what it made me think of this. And not just because everyone had an English accent in the movie, it just really felt like it. So yeah, I did like a couple aspects of it, but not for like movie making quality, but just because of like my own social politics. I liked that there was a gay character, and I liked that there's a kind of there's a girl and a boy, and the boy has feelings for the girl, but she does not feel for him that way at all. And they could have gone a couple ways with this that were, in my mind, would have been kind of dumb or bad. And one way would be like, she suddenly realizes that he's the one at the end of the movie, and I was not into that. And they also could have gone with him pestering her a bunch after she realizes that, like, he's into her. But neither of those things happened. He said a thing that made her recognize that he might have feelings for her, and then she reiterated the fact that she likes being his friend, and that's it. And he doesn't throw a fit about it or be a douche. He's just like, all right. And then they spend the rest of the movie, working together to fight zombies, because that's what the movie is about. And I mean, spoiler, I guess, but he dies. And that's it. So like, there's like two little things that I appreciated that you could see, like, it gives me this glimmer of hope. Like when I see media and doing like these like sort of shitty tropes that, reinforce like bad ideas. Every time I see someone say, no, we're not going to do this, we're going to do it better in this movie, I appreciate that. But as a movie, it's just fine. And that is my full thought on this movie. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have much else to talk about this week. I've been working nonstop to make sure the debut of the DCEU miniseries goes well. So I haven't really been able to get out much.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to go over just great.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, there was so much subtext there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good, but also like I don't know how people react to things until it's out.
What's that like to have making something and feeling like it's good? I've never had that before.
Oh, come on, Austin.
I've made over 300 episodes of this thing. At some point, I have to acknowledge that I'm good at it.
I don't know. It sounds like communist propaganda to me, but okay.
Yeah. I occasionally I do have an episode. I'm like, I wish I had more time on this, but I just don't. So this is what it is. I hope people like it, and people generally do. So it's like, oh, maybe I was all in my head. But lately, I make a thing, and I'm like, yep, I did well. I did the thing I was hoping to do. I have a lot of stuff that coming out next year that especially starting in March that is I think is going to be really, really good.
Give me a hint.
But that's well, the thing is, like, I've sort of decided to take a small financial hit in order to make a long-term goal or long-term gains for the show, and by that I mean I closed requests like a month or two ago. So starting in March, there aren't any requests left. It's all just the things that I want to talk about, and the things that I want to talk about, luckily, are also things that I suspect a lot of people will click on. Whereas sometimes when people give me requests, they're really, really good ideas. And sometimes when people give me requests, they're very personal to that one person. Because there's no material about it on YouTube. And they're like, well, I bet Leon will do it if I pay Leon to do it.
That's just the free market, baby.
Are you shading me, Leon?
I'm sorry?
Are you shading me?
No. What?
Because he requested. Never mind.
Because I did have a request. You remember?
No. Yeah, but that was a good request. No, I mean when people. I don't want to mention any names.
Yeah, of course.
Because this is gonna. It is
Sean.
Gonna turn out bad. No. But occasionally I'll get a request and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say about this movie. I have no idea what to say about its politics. I have no idea what to say about its philosophy. Eventually, I do come up with something, and I'm pleased that I got it done. But and sometimes it even turns out really well. But sometimes I notice my enthusiasm for it isn't as strong as something I actually want to talk about. And I try not to ever let that affect the work, but I'm still only human. And it might sometimes.
For now.
I try. Yeah, so, I try really, really hard to never, ever... I try really hard to always give people their money's worth, because if they're paying me to do this, I'm going to try to make it as good as I possibly can. But I'm not... like I said, like I'm usually pretty happy about the end result. Occasionally, I'm not. So next year, pretty much throughout the entire year, at least starting in March, it's just all stuff I've been wanting to talk about for a while.
I'm curious. Up until this point in time, what's the ratio of stuff that you wanted to talk about versus stuff that people paid you to talk about?
Every month I make 5 episodes. Usually 4 out of 5 of them are requests.
Okay, all right. So coming this spring, we're going to get pure, unadulterated Leon. Just right from the tap.
Yeah, which also means like it's all my fault if these episodes are bad. So I can't. So it's all on me. I am. The good thing is I am enthusiastic about every single video that is going to happen. At least starting in March when the requests are done.
How far ahead do you usually plan?
A year in advance. I know everything I'm going to be doing next year. I'm so busy. I'm also moving in a few days. So like there's a lot going on that's just not fun to talk about. It's just work and boxes.
Look, Austin, I can't help it if I want to ask you guys questions about your lives. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Leon
Thomas, the man of the go, the professional.
When you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to have dinner later. I'm always like, oh, what you having for dinner? Because I'm interested.
You're just that kind of guy, John.
I like to spend time with you guys. I do.
Ditto.
I'll think about it. The thing that happened to me this week that I'm probably going to talk about. Yeah, when I say probably, what I mean is I'm trying to build up my thoughts. I received a package in the mail.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can I guess?
Leon did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I send my friends Christmas presents. I usually do it, a week or two before Christmas, so, in case there are delays. So it should have arrived a few days ago.
You're such a beautiful soul.
Mm-hmm. It's also my birthday today as of recording.
Oh.
I don't know.
Nailed it.
Yeah, so there's that. I don't know.
Happy Get Older Day. Are you old yet?
I just missed the 27 club, bros. Now I'm going to be completely uninteresting on the way out. That's the sad marker of where I am currently.
Don't worry, Austin. You're getting closer and closer to that wide gap that we call we're old grumpy.
So, what Leon sent me, and when I saw Leon's name in the package, a bunch of thoughts went through my mind. Oh god, this is it. I'm gonna get blown to bits, was one of them, I'll be honest.
I send you a Christmas present every year. How do you not know it's coming?
I'm extremely stupid. The other things that occurred to me were that it was going to be something really trolly. You're not like a particularly like rapscallion. You're not like a trickster figure in our mythos. But it occurred to me that you might.
Usually, Austin, if I'm spending money, I want it to have use for so that's how
Mine is from the heart, and I will talk about it afterwards.
So it was actually a pretty straightforward gift. And it is the newest novel by Stephen King.
Yeah. I figured I couldn't go wrong with that. So I was like, basically when I try to figure out birthday presents or Christmas presents for people, I'm like, okay, what do they like and what is their personality also like? So I have like a short list of the thing in my head of things that Austin definitely likes and talks about on a semi-regular basis. And also I thought Austin is in law school, so everything he's reading is bad. So he might enjoy a book that is not. And, what are the things that Austin likes to read? I was like, I know. And that is how that Christmas present happened. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry if I ruined the mystery. But
no, I mean, we're all pretty easy to shop for. You get me Stephen King books, get Johnny Loose Assorted Chili, and get Leon like Blu-rays of old French black and white movies.
Look, Austin.
Yeah.
If you're getting me loose assorted chili, they better be assorted in their own little containers because I will have to make my own mix. If you knows what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel you. So I've been putting it off. Anyway, I'll just talk about the book. It's called Elevation. It's by Stephen King. It's more of a novella. It's like 150 pages or so.
It's a tiny. It's literally not even a small book. Like in that has only so many pages. It is small. Like it doesn't fit right on a bookshelf.
Yeah,
it's literally a tiny book.
It's a bookie.
I thought it was fun. Yeah,
it's bite sized. So I was curious because I hadn't heard about this book, right? It's not like his major like big release like when he did like a new The Shining kind of thing or whatever. And I don't keep up super close anymore. I used to read every single Stephen King book, but stopped back when I graduated from college. So I was going in like 100% blind. I had no idea even what the premise of the book was. Did you know?
I didn't look into it too deeply. I looked up, did Stephen King write a book this year? And he did.
Several.
And I immediately bought it.
Okay. Interesting, because it's extremely about the kind of shit we talk about, and I wasn't sure if it was a coded message.
No. It was more about your tastes and interests and what I thought you might like at this time. Not about what is it about?
All right, so the premise of the book, there are two. It's really okay. I gotta stop fucking pussyfooting and just talk about the book. There are two core plot elements. One is the main character, who is like all of Stephen King's protagonists, a straight white middle-aged guy. And
from
he is
Maine.
What?
Is he from Maine?
Yes, he is in this book.
All right.
Not always. Stephen King's protagonists are from wherever he is when he's writing the book. That's why The Shining is set in Colorado and why Duma Key is set in the Florida Keys, because that's where he happened to be geographically while writing them. It's just a weird... He looks outside his window and he's like, what could come to life and attack people out there?
No, I mean, it's a good writing trick. You immerse yourself in a place. You have all of that, like, reference there. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's a little corny. Like every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna be a writer this time, because that's almost all the protagonists are. But I'm being petty. So it's just this regular Joe white guy who discovers that he is losing weight magically, and you say to me now, undoubtedly, Austin, I think you're confusing that book with Thinner, the Stephen King book about the guy who's losing weight, and that's an easy mistake to make. The difference is in Thinner, the protagonist was getting thinner. And in Elevation, the new book by Stephen King, he's staying the same size.
So he's retaining volume, but losing mass.
Yes. Which, I mean, it's all magic, but it's not quite as relatable, because I think we can all imagine magically losing weight and getting smaller. Like, that tracks in your mind. This is like more
actually, when
metaphysical.
When people tell me, have you lost weight? I say, actually, no, I put it on. But I have actually lost some volume.
Oh, Johnny.
Because I'm that pedantic.
So that is like the A plot, or that's what you're introduced to out the gate. And then there's kind of a B element of this book, and this is the part where I definitely thought, does Leon trying to set us up for a conversation? Because the other plot is a lesbian couple moves into the town where this guy lives, and they are being discriminated against by closed-minded rural folk. And this is a very 2018 book. Trump's name comes up several times, just directly. They just say it. There's a part where the protagonist basically does one of those the Christian Marine and the professor arguments from the chain letters from the mid-2000s. Did you guys know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
I do not. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't have time to explain that. But he confronts somebody about their bad beliefs or whatever. They're like, haha, lesbians, that's funny. And the white hero's like, actually, it's not funny at all. They're just people. It's a very corny book. It has a very like straight savior narrative. So these lesbians are like being discriminated against, and this guy who's magically losing weight is their neighbor. And at first they think he's discriminating against them because he is like he's being like pedantic about where their dogs do their business on his lawn or whatever. It's not super important. But then he decides to win them over by being like aggressively. I'm going to use the term that people who are dicks use, like white knighting, basically.
Yeah.
And this book is so interesting because it's coming from this guy who grew up in like the 50s, I believe. Stephen King's pretty old. So he has this kind of like grandfatherly, like, he's a liberal. If you ever, follow him on Twitter or whatever, he's constantly dunking on Trump or whatever. He's like trying his best, but he has this kind of old man way about it. And the character does too. So it fits and it feels really honest, where he's always like, these people and their plight in America, it's so unfortunate. She hot though. There's a lot of that. And like the plot, basically the two collide at the one lesbian is like a runner, and there's going to be a big race, and so this guy bets her that if he wins the race, him and the lesbians have to hang out with him.
Why would
that's not a joke? Mind. That's what happens. And if he loses, he has to never bother them again, because this is where it gets to in the book, is that he's so aggressively trying to be like nice so that they don't think he's homophobic that it's annoying them. This sounds fake. I swear to God, I just read it. So during the race, it turns out that his magic powers or whatever basically make it that he can keep up with her despite her being athletic and him being a fat guy. And, plot stuff happens, and they get closer, and he reveals his secret, and then they all become friends. And the fat white guy kind of saves the day. Like, the town accepts them because a fat guy who's magically losing weight just goes extremely out of his way to push himself into their lives.
Yeah. Look, he's just trying to be a good ally and failing a little at it. So there's that. Maybe Stephen King just really wants to have like a cool lesbian couple as his friends.
It really feels feels like that. I had so many conflicted feelings because it is a deeply corny, try hard kind of book. If I had a better phrase than White Knight, I would use it. I can't think of one because that's kind of what it is. But also, everyone in the story knows it.
Virtue signaling.
Let's not even use their play.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but you see what I'm saying. But like the women say that to him. They're like, "We don't need you. Everyone's really impressed with how woke you are. Please go away." Like on some level, Stephen King knows what he's doing, but he's doing it anyway.
Right.
And that's a quality, about all of his writing that's always been endearing. Is that he doesn't. He's just like really honest and relatable in the way he just like says shit. Like a lot of people say like, I'm just telling it like it is, but usually what they're saying is like, I'm gonna be an asshole and I don't care. Well, he actually is just kind of like giving you his thoughts conversationally almost. He doesn't have like a writerly prose, which I actually appreciate. I've read way too many novels where when I can tell someone's like trying to get into writer mode, it like makes my skin crawl. So when he's just like, oh, I really want to pet this cat and listen to this music while I think about my magical weight situation. I'm just like, cool, Steven. I like that you brought me into this universe, you fucking weirdo. But I couldn't stop thinking about how fucking annoying the hero was at every single point. And he is the hero. He's like the guy who like is almost like supernaturally chosen to save this poor lesbian couple.
Austin, when you think about it, wasn't the weight we lost the prejudice that we held onto ourselves all the time?
If it's a metaphor, I'm not exactly sure what it is, because I read his book on writing where he talks about like his process and stuff, and he says he never starts from metaphor. He says like, oh, I can recognize it when it comes naturally along the way, but he's like, I just start with characters and see what they do, kind of. And it's like, I don't think he sat down and he's like, I want to write a story about social justice and here's a supernatural metaphor for it. I think he was just like daydreaming, looking out his window in Maine, seeing some lesbians run by, and he's like, ooh, I want to be their friend. Like,
yeah,
it just feels like this corny ass old man who's trying to be woke. And I can't bring myself to dislike it, even though it's not great.
You know what? I'm going to say this. Stephen King is doing okay as a person. Like, not necessarily as a writer. You know? Like,
he is like the ideal kind of person of his generation, though, because I don't expect him to be like storming the Capitol with Antifa or anything, but he's doing some, he's trying, and maybe that's a low bar, but honestly, if there were more Stephen Kings in the world, it would be better, marginally,
especially in their position as primary culture figures.
Yeah. So I could talk more about it because it gave me a lot of feelings just from a writer's perspective, right? Where you people like us, I would think, want to be responsible with the art we put into the world, the message we put out into the world, and sometimes that can be like try-hardy and off-putting. We've talked before about like, should things be subtle? Should you just put your message out there? Like, how many layers do you need to bury it under? And I felt refreshed by the fact that he didn't try to hide it. He just kind of said his thing. And that's, I think, what we've been promoting on our show for a while.
Yeah. I appreciate Stephen King in the sense that I have very low expectations for rich white men.
Yeah. That's another thing I didn't even bring up. The character in the book. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a fat, like middle-aged white guy. I'm divorced. I'm just kind of a sad sack. Anyway, I just got a software deal. I made $1 million. I'm fine. Like, it's just like a throwaway detail that the character never has to worry about money. It's just not a factor. Yeah. And it's like, damn neoliberalism. You've got him again. Like, you just can't think about, anyway.
Well, that's why he has so much spare time to try to be friends with two lesbians. He has nothing else that he really needs to do. To make sure he pays the rent.
It's a real time-consuming effort to actually make friends with lesbians.
It sounds like he actually is making it a time-consuming event for himself.
It took like 150 pages, so. It's a pretty time-consuming event. I just cannot stress enough how uncomfortable that whole thing is. Like, he's just doing so much. I thought at some point there would be a turn, and he would actually be like, "I am weightlessness man, the arch villain." Like, and he would just float off the ground and start shooting lasers or something. Fucking hell, dude. It's a lot.
Okay. I'm glad you liked it.
I appreciated elements of it. It's more about just like that. You can, we talked about a lot about when like fan service and stuff. We don't talk about so much anymore, but like people used to ask us a lot about like thoughts on like fan service and anime. And it's like sometimes you can just tell there's a good faith effort, and sometimes people are just being fucking gross and creepy. You can just tell. Yeah. And this feels like it's coming from a genuine place. I don't think he is virtue signaling, as we said earlier. I don't think this is like cynical or anything. I think he's like a kind of a like harmless old guy who's like trying to do his best out here and trying to be on the right side of history. And he's just kind of a clumsy oaf. And that's fine. So am I guess.
Okay. So, Johnny, do you have anything this week?
I got 3 things: 2 personal experiences, and then also the gift that arrived from you today in the mail.
Okay.
What do you guys want to hear about?
Personal shit.
All right. So, personal shit number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Never have a nephew.
I have no idea if I do. So
that is deeply out of my control.
My nephew is really shy. Okay, but he's quite excited about 30 minutes after I show up to interact with me. And it's extremely sick and snotty.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a dentist appointment on Friday this week, which was its own experience in itself because they have a new office and there's like TV screens in the ceiling, and they were broadcasting episodes of Carnival Eats. And I'm just like lying there watching this dude make a black olive garlic tapenade, blue cheese, gravy, poutine. I talked to Austin about this earlier, and I'm basically drowning in my drool. But then I went to go visit my ma's house because my ma lives quite near to my dentist's place, because I live like an hour away now because I'm a grown man, apparently. That's what they tell me. And both my nephew and my brother-in-law are just ill as shit. But I was there for hours. And so my nephew is, like, giving me high fives and handing me trucks and cars and wiping his goddamn fingers everywhere. Anyway, I wasn't feeling well this weekend, so there was that. And that led to the second personal story. Oh my god, I was such a jerk. I had a date on Monday that I slept through.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny.
It's a power move, though.
Well, this is the thing, is that I, like... the amount of penitence that I have paid to this woman. I am hoping. She seems like the coolest thing that has come across my profile in the whole time I've been a part of Bumble. She works in film as a costumer that specializes in making things look old.
But now you stood her up, so you're cooler than she is.
No, I'm so not cooler than she is.
How did she react to all this?
I spent a good 30 minutes apologizing and begging for another chance.
Not
and at
cool.
Just
putting that there.
Oh, you lost it. God. Yeah, you lost
At the end of it, I got her phone number.
Okay. All right.
So, I was being honest with her. And just
She's
saying...
like, I'm a big sweepy boy.
No. Shut up, Austin. I have more charm than that.
That's what I would do. That's my style.
No, I feel humiliated by it. But I did get her phone number. I really want to make this right. So, I'm gonna bring her something when we get to meet next. It's a busy season, and she works a busy job. So, yeah. But
I would have leaned into it. I would have just let it ride and not just kept going.
No,
like,
Austin,
that legend will spread and people will know how
don't
cool I am.
understand how I am into this. I am into this woman.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And in the future, if you make a mistake, just look real cute and say, "Who, me?
I'm a sweepy boy."
So there's that.
All right. So now the last thing I'll talk about before we get to questions, because we're at 53 minutes right now of recording, as far as I see, is that Leon sent me Fox Volant of the Snowy Mountain. And this is interesting because Chinese literature is actually one of the only major nations that I haven't had a chance to read. It's written by Jin Yong, who was apparently born in 1924. Apparently, I say, as if that's not really a matter of record. And has been decorated by just about every college and university on the planet, including the local UBC, with a degree of Doctor of Literature. It is a martial arts epic, translated by Olivia Mock, which is a credit that I'm glad that they included on the book, because I feel like a translator's job is just as important as an author. I haven't had a chance to read any of it yet, because, as I say, I just got it today. But the jacket reads, one of the most famous and popular of Jin Yong's works, Fox Volant of the Snowy Mountain, is a riveting martial arts tale enmeshed in intrigue, action, and suspense. Set in 1781 Manchuria during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor, which I'm sure I mispronounced, it tells the story of the feud between descendants of the bodyguards of the would-be usurper of the Ming Dynasty more than a century prior. As the only English version of the Chinese text, Fox Volant has been skillfully rendered by Olivia Mock into a translation that maintains the lucidity and excitement of the original Chinese. Cherished among Chinese readers around the world, it is now available for the enjoyment of English-language audiences interested in wuxia and popular Chinese fiction. So I'm really quite stoked to read this, actually.
Yeah. I picked that by thinking, okay, Johnny's a smarty pants, so he might like a book too, and he also likes kung fu.
The kicky and punchy.
Right. And I don't think I've ever given you anything like martial arts related. So I said, okay, all right, kung fu is Chinese. So what are great Chinese books about martial arts? And then I did some research, and then I picked that.
My book is gay, or I win.
Well, hey, I don't even know what happens in Johnny's book, so we don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, slow your roll, all right?
First question. Matthew B. Hare at Matthew B. Hare asks, how do we stop Kanye from red-pilling Kojima? Did you guys see these tweets?
Keep him with Mads Mikkelsen and Norman Reedus.
Okay, I'll set the scene here. Last week, Drake texted Kanye asking for him to clear a song they did together, work together on, that Kanye had some kind of rights about. Not a big deal. Happens in hip-hop literally all the time. But Kanye was mad because Drake was feuding with Pusha T, and we talked about that before, and also some sneak disses on some songs. Kanye is very angry about sneak disses. Anyway, Kanye went on...
No, Kanye's paranoid.
I don't even want to get into it. Everyone knows our feelings on the Kanye tweets, but he did it again, and he did one which I've been really enjoying. It's been a slow burn, but he tweeted, "These are not emotional tweets," after like 100 extremely angry tweets. And it's just, it's a big mood, I gotta say, to be caught being just the most temper tantrum ass bitch in the world and then saying, "I'm not emotional." Like, why are you so fragile, bro? Anyway, at the end of this, as if none of that had happened, Kanye just tweeted, apparently Hideo Kojima's in New York. Like, can anybody hook us up? And I want Kanye to be in Death Stranding more than anyone. But I don't know if video games as a medium would survive. Thoughts?
I can't see... I can't see Ye adhering to a script.
Yeah, it'd be hard to mocap him when he on his ad-libs.
And Hideo Kojima needs that script. He's not famous for ad-libbing.
If you guys keep bringing up Kanye, I'm eventually going to have to do an episode of Renegade Cut about him.
You have to.
So
he did a film, basically.
No,
the Runaway music video.
Please don't. He doesn't need any more attention.
True.
It would be more damaging to the man than anything else. Like, even if you were intentionally being damaging to the man, it would bring him more attention, which would increase the amount of damage.
Yeah,
I don't think Leon is gonna fucking kill him. I don't think it's gonna be death blow.
Nobody watches my show. But what I mean is, whenever the topic of this person comes up, there's just like an incredible, not only defense, but like kind of ignorant defense of the things that he says and the things that he does. And we've done some of them on the show.
I have. Sorry. No, it's fair. I am that guy. Leon is blameless.
Austin is that guy.
Yeah, I was trying not to point a specific finger, but
I own my mistakes. I fucked up. Everyone saw.
Okay.
It's like when you trip and then you try to act cool like you didn't trip and you look around like, oh, weird sidewalk. No, everyone saw and it was me.
No, it's fine. I'm the opposite of that. Like, a lot of of our episodes are gone if I ever say anything I regret.
Jesus.
So that's who I am. But I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't have anything more to say except the fact that I am actually genuinely considering doing a deep dive into something I have no business doing.
That would be incredibly
I have tried to
funny.
remain Kanye agnostic, but he's made it impossible to.
Yeah, I mean, the serious, like, actual thing that's interesting to people with brain cells left in all of this is that he tweeted, like, I'm off my meds because I can't make great music like I used to on meds, and that's a disgusting thing that we as a society all need to deal with, like, the whole tortured artist
it's
lie,
horrific
myth.
And it directly offends me.
Yeah, it's bad, and we should call it out. It's bad.
That is shitty. First of all, that's just, like, provably not an accurate representation of what depression is like. For example, when I'm depressed, or if I'm I forget to take my meds. I'm not motivated to do stuff because I'm kind of.
I forgot to take my pills. Look, I've got a whole symphony now waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's the opposite of how that works. Yeah, so that is kind of messed up. I didn't even know about that particular quote, which is just making the idea of shitting on this just that much more appealing to me.
So I want to be specifically, if you're thinking about doing a Kanye West thing, I don't know how you would approach it as a film critic, but on YouTube, there's a 34 minute, 32 second long, and it's called Full Length Film Runaway by Kanye West. It's a music video for a song. But not only is it like the closest thing to a movie he's ever made, it's fucking specifically about this. The chorus is, let's have a toast for the douchebags. Let's have a toast for the assholes. It's about how him being like a dragon energy dickweed is good artistically. It could not be a more perfect crystallization of all of the shit we talk about with him. It's from his best album, and the one where at the height of my fandom, I would say, would be like, no, look, he understands. He's doing something here. Look how clever and genius. Obviously, now in retrospect, no, he was just bragging about being a dick. But it's extremely what we've been talking about.
That's fine. Oh, and just as a side note, next year, like I've already announced this, but I'm not just going to be talking about film on Renegade Cut anymore. So like this, like Kanye West is completely fair game. For the show.
There's going to be Magic March where you do only Magic the Gathering sets.
Yeah. It's going to be Johnny January.
But there is a Rick and Morty episode coming.
Oh, Lord.
It's going to be fucking savage.
And there's connective tissue there because he definitely loves Rick and Morty.
I bet.
Yes,
he seems like the kind of guy who would.
He tweeted a Pickle Rick, but it was Pickle Kanye. I swear to God, it's not a joke.
Yeah. Anywho, let's please talk about something else.
Sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine.
Giga Beetle at Giga Beetle asks, "Can we get a So Crab So Good update, Johnny?"
Well, there's still a lot of crab, and I would describe it as so crab. And as far as how good it is, it's so good.
All right, I'm glad we went down that road.
Actually, this February, like, So Crab So Good is like my go-to when I bring people to town. So I have a friend coming to visit me in February, and we are going to So Crab So Good.
I just realized that this is
So
meaningless
Crab So
if
Good.
You haven't listened for a long time. It's fine.
I mean, you've heard the So Crab So Good word, right?
No.
Praise it.
Okay. Here's a question. I don't know if we're going to go anywhere with this one either, but Elon Miskey at Ilmari Walker on Twitter asks, opinions on Toto's Africa remix featuring Pitbull on the Aquaman soundtrack.
I don't know. I have no idea what that is.
Wait, you haven't seen Aquaman? Is that out yet?
Well, it's not out. It's not out till tomorrow night, but I'm not going to see it tomorrow night. Also, I don't listen to the music very much.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Toto's "Bless the Rain."
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but this question is specifically about this remix that I.
Yeah, there's a Pitbull remix. I just don't know if anybody was going to dunk on it, but more specifically, what's up with the resurgence of that song? Also, Weezer did a version recently that went viral, and they were like on top of the charts for like a brief moment there, and there was a recent SNL sketch that was apparently about that fact. I haven't seen it. That's what
Austin, do you figure that it's because that people who grew up like, I don't know, 30 years ago or something like that are starting to come into money, and now other people are realizing that if you monetize nostalgia, like a Transformers movie or like superhero movies or like She-Ra or Voltron, or, I don't know, something like that.
That's one thing I was missing from Blade Runner, I feel like, was a lot of, like, chintzy, regurgitated culture from previous eras. Like,
sorry, are you slagging Blade Runner right now?
No, I'm just saying the dystopian
because we're going to have problems if you're slagging either Blade Runner.
I like them both. My point is that a lot of science fiction writers very accurately predicted like the rise of corporate control over government and so forth and income inequality. They didn't really capture how lame it was going to be. Not that Africa.
There was. There was one shot in Blade Runner 2049 where his hover car comes down and there's a giant fucking Atari logo, and I was like, yeah.
That's funny for a different reason, though. Do we have strong Weezer feelings? By the way, anybody?
I like that one song, El Scorcho.
That's the one, huh? I wouldn't have guessed that.
I don't know. I mean, it's not the only one I've ever liked. I think I like Buddy Holly.
That's the one I would have thought you would have went with.
Every morning I used to wake up and Buddy Holly was on the radio when I was in high school, and it just I grew to hate that song, and it destroyed my love for Weezer entirely.
Huh.
However, I was a big fan of was it The Replacements?
Sounds familiar, but
I don't
know. No, it was The Rentals. It was The Rentals. Sorry, The Replacements are a different band. I get them mixed up frequently. The Rentals were Weezer went on hiatus, and then one of the guys from Weezer formed a new band in the meantime. You've heard the song Friends of P? If you're friends of P, then you're friends with me. If you're down with P.
No?
No,
you just made that up.
No, it's a fucking, like, all right.
It's fake. You shopped it. I can tell because of the
pixels. Leon?
Oh, God. Johnny, I'm only joking. I don't care. Please. I promise you it's fine that it's all...
There is an alternate version of this show where every time we bring something up, Leon says, I don't care, and then we move on, and I'm interested in at least one novelty version of that.
But I was into The Rentals. I quite like The Rentals. I think they only had one album. And I was quite fond of it. So.
Okay. I only heard the song El Scorcho from the cover by Dashboard Confessional.
Oh my God, that's a Leon-ass thing to do.
Oh.
I know. That's why I felt like I should say it out loud.
Yeah, thanks.
But then, upon realizing it was a cover, I was like, oh, I should listen to the original. I like the cover more. Anyway.
You would, too. I'm just going to leave that there. Yep. I'm not going to elaborate.
No, you're fine.
Here's the thing that happened this week that everyone's talking about. Razikiel at Razumi Yazura on Twitter asks, have you seen Will Smith's version of Genie in Aladdin?
I saw a magazine cover.
Right. I mean, we haven't seen the movie. We know what he's going to look like in the movie unless they decide to, like, do a last-minute complete CG, facelift of it. Mm-hmm. But... yeah, he's gonna be he's just gonna look like a guy with a different haircut. And like an outfit
and ears.
I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, this is a live action remake of Aladdin. It's not. I mean, there are remakes that Disney does where like characters are just straight up CG, like in Beauty and the Beast and pretty much everything in Jungle Book.
I haven't seen a single live-action remake of their classics yet. I'm proud to say.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I have a zero tolerance policy personally.
Yeah, I just go to the movies, so it's like it's not, it's whatever.
I don't want to be a dick because I know that's for like a generation that didn't grow up with Aladdin, and I'm glad they're getting it, even if the other one already exists, whatever. But there's just nothing about it that excites me. Like I see that and I feel nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Look, it's hard to judge a movie by a magazine cover, and it's hard to, and we have seen a few more like screens of it, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going for. Apparently, is it what is the name of the director? It's the guy who did that shitty movie Revolver, I think. Guy Ritchie?
Oh God, is it Guy Ritchie?
No, it can't be.
No,
because Guy Ritchie did Revolver.
Yeah, I would watch Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. That would fucking rule. Oh my God, it is!
Not if it was Revolver Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
what's happening? It is
Guy Ritchie. Yeah, it's Guy. That's what I mean. I was right. It's him. But there's, I don't know. I can't, like I said, I can't judge this based on a few still shots from the movie all on its own. But yeah, I'm not enthusiastic about this one for some reason, even though Aladdin as a cartoon was like one of the best ones that they did.
It was probably my favorite, Disney Renaissance animated movie.
Yeah, Aladdin might be one of my favorites too. I didn't know it was Guy Ritchie. This changes everything. I think this might suck in an awesome way.
Okay. That sounds very Guy Ritchie.
What is happening to this guy? Did you guys see King Arthur?
No, I heard it sucked, but I actually really liked the Sherlock Holmeses, the two he did.
I did too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But mostly for the cast.
Mm-hmm.
But King Arthur was a trip.
And obviously I love Snatch and Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. I used to just unironically like him a lot, and then with Sherlock it was less ironic, or it was more ironic, so I don't even know anymore.
I should mention something, because otherwise people will try to correct us in the comments, because that's what they're there for, I guess. Will Smith is just a guy with a haircut when he's in the guise of a human, but he will be CG and totally blue in other scenes. So there's just much like in the way that Genie was blue almost all the time, but he did like appear as like a human in other scenes. Yeah,
during the Prince Ali scene.
Yeah. So that's.
I hear the guy's fabulous.
Yeah. Wow, I'm so glad I took this question that I didn't think anyone was going to care about, because now I know that it's going to be batshit, and I'm kind of excited now.
Okay.
Speaking of batshit, here's a question from Cyretha at LS Blackwood on Twitter. Austin, what is your professional legal take on The Santa Claus featuring Tim Allen? Is that contract binding? Are you guys aware of the film The Santa Claus?
Of course.
Okay.
I saw it in the theater, my man.
Why?
I've only read the transcripts.
This is a Pruder film.
Look, when did The Santa Claus come out? Like mid-90s?
I don't even know, dude.
Well, then I was like a young person going to the theaters, and that was what I could watch before I could see rated R movies. So, you go see The Santa Claus. You go see Mrs. Doubtfire. That's what was available.
Gotta be
I just
later
looked it up,
than
and
that.
Santa Claus was 1994. Mrs. Doubtfire was only 92. So they're around the same era.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, the premise of the film is that Tim Allen, human shitbag, scares Santa Claus, who is climbing a house. He falls off. Santa Claus dies. Dark for a children's movie. But under this kind of magical contract, Tim Allen is transformed into the new Santa Claus, and that plays havoc with his life.
Yeah, it's straight up body horror, honestly. This could be a completely different movie if they just changed the soundtrack to something ominous.
We're not the
An American Santa Claus in London.
Yeah.
It just raises a lot of questions. Was the Santa he killed actually another shitbag who was transformed in such a way, and it's just like a terrible curse that's passed through generations?
So
Probably
like Andrew Dice Clay?
Jesus.
I'm afraid that the sequels, which I have also seen, do not answer that. If anything, the sequels make the contract even more ridiculous, because there are things in the contract that are impossible to see without a microscope.
Oh man, this is just rife for contract law. So the elements of a contract, as I'm sure we've talked about before in this show, are offer, acceptance, consideration, obligation, and the I'm gonna fuck this up, but it's like competency. Like you have to know what you're doing. Like children can't do it. They don't have to be written necessarily, so that's fine. It can be magic if magic exists.
But the consideration is an important part.
I mean, we don't even get that far, right? Like, at no point did Santa offer this. You can't just spring a contract on someone. I can't just be like, Johnny, you like Bayonetta. Therefore, as part of the contract you didn't know about, you have to buy me a sandwich. Like, it's fucking garbage. It's nothing. It's trash.
In fairness, Austin?
You almost called me Santa, but go on.
I will buy you a Santa. Just because we're pals.
Uh-huh.
All right.
This satisfies none of the elements of a contract. It's not a contract, it's a prank. Tim Allen has been had.
He's been cursed. I mean, let's be real here. This is it's really horrible. Again, none of what we're saying is new because we're talking about a movie from the 90s, and like I as I've shown in the past few weeks, I have super cold takes.
So it really is an American Santa Claus in London. Like, he got bit by someone, metaphor, let's say.
Yeah.
And then this horrible body transformation happens, plays havoc on his life, and then gives way to horrible sequels.
The thing is, even if there was a scene where before Santa Claus died, he came to Tim Allen's house, and he's like, hey, Tim Allen, you suck just huge fucking balls, dude. I hate you. Anyway, do you want to sign this contract which says when I die, you are the new Santa? And Tim Allen said, yes, I'm going to accept your offer, and we're going to exchange something so that there is consideration. And I am of sound mind and body, so this is totally legally binding. And then after that scene, Santa Claus took a header off the roof, just snapped his spine in front of all the children, and Tim Allen, according to the contract, was to take his place. It's difficult to enforce specific contracts.
So what we're looking for is the Santa Claus last will and testament.
No, even in that case, you can't. It's difficult to use a contract to force somebody to do
Yeah,
something.
it doesn't just happen. There'd have to be a bequeathment. A bequeathal? A bequeathment?
In most scenarios, if this happened, let's just assume everything's real and it happened as I described, Tim Allen may be forced to pay a restitution. That's not the right word. He might have to be paid to make up the value of that specific enforcement.
Right.
He would not be
buying
forced
presents
to
for
that.
every kid
Or
around
the value
the world.
Of finding a replacement who wants to do it willingly.
Right.
Leon, how does this strike you?
I have a only slightly related question.
Okay.
It's not about law, but it is about what the movie. If Santa Claus dies, does he go to heaven, or is Jesus like really catty about it?
That's a good question. I'd have to actually get into the text.
First of all,
some citations.
Can Santa Claus actually die?
Or
I mean, in the movie, yes, like that's what I mean.
Is he a possessing spirit?
Wait, are you saying that the Santa Claus is puppeteering a body that is not his own?
It may be possible. Has anybody ever tried to exorcise Santa Claus?
I would say that I don't know what is in Santa's heart, but I assume he has been baptized. I assume he goes to church on Sundays. I assume he goes to confession. I assume also he's Catholic, apparently.
Right, because in the North Pole, they have, like, all of those things just readily available amongst a bunch of elves who obviously
That's what the elves are for.
That's
what the elves are for. Wake up, sheeple.
Yeah, one of them must be ordained or something.
Yeah. But here's the thing. He is an idolater, right? Like, he is raising something above the exalted form of Christ in his own actions. Yeah. That is sin. He's a sinner. I just think as long as he gets to a priest on the way out, between if he dies on Christmas night, he's sinning. But after that, he goes to confession, and he's good until the next 25th. So I think Tim Allen's actions got him just right in the small window where he would go to hell. I think the rest of the year he's golden. He's going to heaven. He's confessed. He's fine. But it's just such a tricky window. Okay. Leon, I need your analysis. Do you think he's going to hell?
Oh, no, not because no, none of these people exist. So
fun podcast.
Leon, neither does hell. So
this got away from us at the end there. A little bit. Do you think going down the chimney is magic? Because that's sin.
Obviously.
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is, I actually brought this up in the episode, the Renegade Cut episode about Indiana Jones. Like for magic to exist, trying to say this.
We talked about this with the Witch of Endor, and I feel like we got to a point where it was just like, at some point we have to recognize that the religion is contradictory.
Right. No, of course. Well, that's because the Old the Bible, a bit specifically the Old Testament, was written with ancient Near Eastern values, meaning it's not. We get like the idea of truth from sort of like Hellenistic Greek stuff from that philosophy. That wasn't as much a thing in the ancient Near East. So it's the fact that the Old Testament is contradictory is not a contradiction for them. It's just the best guesses from their prophets.
Damn context, it do be like that.
Like watching the Twilight Zone movie is like, I've seen all the Twilight Zones now. No, you haven't. There's more.
I just Googled it to see what people think. What the Bible has to say about Santa. Here's James 1:17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. So it seems like the Book of James is pro Santa.
All right. Now give me an anti.
Look.
Let's see. Here's an anti one. What? Okay, maybe there's more context, but here's Galatians 4:3. In the same way, we also, when we were children, were enslaved to the elementary principles of the world. So that seems pretty anti.
That seems pretty anti-capitalist.
This is wild. There's a Google search for everything. You just be like, what does the Bible say about weed? And you'll get some stuff. It'll be like, people are like, oh, the body is a temple. Yeah, I guess that does say we could smoke weed. It's fine. What? I love this stuff.
Yeah. We are running out of time. Anything you guys want to say before we go?
Merry Christmas, assholes.
That's combative. Or, as the Bible says in Luke 12:15, take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions.
That seems pretty anti-Santa Claus.
Yeah. Damn, some of the Bible does slap, though.
Some of the Bible does slap, though?
Doesn't that? That was really good. That was a banger.
It's pretty honest.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay. I love you all.
Well, yeah, and as it says in the book of Deuteronomy, when two men are fighting and the wife of one of them intervenes to drag her husband clear of his opponent, if she puts out her hand and catches hold of the man by his privates, you must cut off her hand and show her no mercy. Merry Christmas. Now that your rose